Hi, babies. It's that time again. Oh, yeah. We are in Luke 1. But I think we're not going to be really teaching on it today. It's very long, and there's some history behind it, and I want to do some preparation before I talk to you about it too much in depth. But I'll just mention this one thing that I find really interesting. Well, it's kind of an academic thing. It's maybe you might not find it very interesting, but there's some good evidence that Luke 1 and 2 were added later, because if you read Luke 3, it actually sounds more like that's where the gospel starts, which is probably where it starts. And at some point, someone thought it would be a good idea to recount the events prior to Jesus's birth, and then those were added later and stuck at the beginning of the book. You know, like for instance, John the Baptist, again being born of a woman who can't bear children. The Bible just can't get enough of God intervening to help women get pregnant. It's one of their favorite stories. Yeah, so we'll get into all that later. So instead of that, let's segue to the Gospel of Frank. That would be me. Or Gospel according to Frank, I should say, because it's always the Gospel of Jesus. And yeah, baby, I'm in the midst of an interesting transformation at the moment. I just kind of got this revelation, which is not really a revelation, technically speaking, because I've always been teaching on it, but I just had sort of maybe a manifestation is the word for it, of just God giving me a real peace. And yeah, there's no better word for it than peace. Well, no, I guess there is, because it was a combination of like peace, excitement, pleasure, anticipation, like all wrapped into one. And it's just based on living for God's pleasure. Yeah, baby. I know there's some of you out there think, God's pleasure, we don't know what God's pleasure is. Just do what it says in the Bible. Yeah. You and millions of other people with your different ideas of what it says in the Bible. Yeah. That's not as obvious as you think it is. The world is not living in the gospel according to you. You are living according to the gospel of you. So don't expect other people to. Don't expect other people to. Because everyone's going to take something different out of the Bible. So that's not the panacea that you think it is. I'll tell you what's a better place to land is this place where I'm at right now, where I really believe God's given me this reassurance that He's going to adjust my behavior so that I'm choosing things to do that bring Him ultimate pleasure. Oh yeah, baby. Doesn't that sound better? That sounds more like a married couple, right? You live for the other person's pleasure. At least that's what I did when I was married. And I had joy knowing that I was pleasing the other one. The other one. Yeah, so it sounds simple, but it's really like it's kind of blowing my mind in a sense, because here it is, I've been teaching on it for a long time, but the Spirit is sort of landing on it with me right now. Because where I get myself into sadness and anxiety is when I start analyzing my life according to meeting my desires. What are my pleasures? I'm not getting my pleasures taken care of. What's up with that? And that's just gonna keep being that's just an endless cycle of feeding angst, basically, and nothing pleasurable about that. But knowing that your behavior pleases God, oh baby, oh man. Because really, I was thinking about like just God's sadness in the world. You know, how many times people turn away from Him, or you know, they kind of get a clue of what to do, but then they don't follow up on it. And on either the bigger extreme, just people out in the world who are so out for themselves, they're not thinking of God at all. It's all about power and manipulation and exploitation and taking advantage, and in many cases, you know, ending up in the death of those who are being exploited. You know, and you think of God, who's created this world and given us the power to co-create with Him and create life and create goodness and create strength and security and love in the world. And instead we have devastation, emotional trauma, and death. So to me, given that the context of the history of the world, we're in a perfect position to do something to bring joy to God's heart. And I just am getting a lot of help from the Spirit in that regard to change some of the things I'm doing so that I'm sure these changes are bringing joy to God's heart.